Hare
Don't
Krishna.
believe everything Google tells you. If you look up the time, if you look up the time in Stockholm, Google will give you the wrong time. Or it may give you the right time now, but you...
Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. Madhusudan Mars, can you hear me? How come we can't have it like we did in the temple room, where we can talk back and forth? We can't do that? Devendra, can... Oh, Madhusudan Mars, can you hear me?
Clearly, Maharaj.
Oh, okay, good. Were we hearing the bells ringing in the nearby town of Vilagovinda?
Yes, you were indeed.
All right, well, that's one of the wonders of technology. All right, Mars, I'm going to say a few Vandanam prayers, and then, as you know, this is the day traditionally at the Mat, Gurudev, like the devotees, and the aftermath of Sri Gaur Purnima and the Anandotsav Mahotsav of Jagannath Misra, to visit the birthplace of Srila Guru Maharaj in Hapania. As you mentioned, the timing, the lotuses are blooming there. So we'll say something about that, and you, of course, know much about that, having accompanied Srila Gurudev many times. So I begin by offering prayers to Srila Guru Maharaj, his deities, his Guru, his Gaura, and all the Vaishnavas, and Sri Guru Gaura Gandharva Govindang Gringanaisaha Vande Prasadato Yesam Savaramba Subankara Gaura Vag Vigraham Vande Gaurangam Gaura Vaibhavam Gaura Sankirtanomatam Gaura Korunya Sundaram Guru Rupa Harim Gauram Radha Ruchi Ruchavratam Nityam Nomi Navadipe Nama Kirtana Nartanai Srimad Prabhu Padambo Jamadupebhyo Namo Namaha. And I think of the sloka where the Braja Gopis are praising Govardhan, Giriraj Govardhan, as Haridas Bharja, the best of the servants of Hari. So we're accustomed to think of Giriraj Govardhan as Krishna, as we should. But Guru Maharaj said actually there's some similarity to Giriraj Govardhan and Mahaprabhu. In what way? As we thought, Jiva Goswami, Anta Krishna Bahir Gauram Darshi Tangari Vaibhavam. Kirtanadeshma. Anyway, internally Krishna, externally in the form of the devotee. So he's in Giriraj Govardhan. He's internally Krishna, but he's also devotee. Haridas Varja means the best of the Haridasas. Right? So in that verse, the Braja Gopis, they're praising Govardhan, and they say, Hantaya Madra Adrilabala Haridasa Bharja Yad Rama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayas Tayoryat Pani Asuya Vasakanda Rakanda Mulai. See, Paniya, like Hapaniya, Suya Vasakanda Rakanda Mulai. You have such sweet water is one of the things. And we've heard Chakravarti Thakur saying that the ponds on Govardhan are like tears of Krishna Prem. So not any ordinary water, even extraordinary, beyond extraordinary. How wonderful is that plain. But the Braja Gopis and saying Rama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramoda, and you're very happy to have the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram upon you as they're there doing their different cow herding pastimes, and you're offering your sweet waters, your sweet grasses, and they say there are caves there. We hear in other places, Garga Sangita and elsewhere, these caves are illumined by jewel light. They're Chintamani gem places. And anyway, they say these things in praise of that place. But Hapaniya, Yasuya Vasakandara Kandamule reminds me of that. And Guru Maharaj says that it was 43 years before he had returned there. So he left at a period of time. Only 43 years later did he return. And the presence of beloved associate Jajavar Maharaj. Of course, Srila Gurudev was there. Achyutananda Swami was there at the time. Krishna's Babaji Maharaj. And why, before, we'll say more about that in a minute, but why the birthplace of Sri Guru has such significance, we turn to the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as described in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. And it's very significant where this pastime occurs as well, because we were telling the other day, you have like Adi Leela, beginning pastimes, Charitamrita, Shesh Leela, final pastimes. Shesh divided into two, Madhya, Antya, middle and final. Yeah. But Chaitanya Bhagavat, you have like also an Adi, Madhya, Antya framework. And that's at the end of the Adi Kanda, the beginning pastimes. So Srila Saraswati Thakur will say that like a progressively realized devotee, Nimai Pundit is apparently undergoing some transformation. Remember, he's descended in this world to experience Bhakta Bhav, right? Bhav, Guru Maharaj said, the best definition of Bhav, heart. So the heart of a devotee, but culminating in the supreme devotee, Radha Bhav, right? Radha Bhava Duti Subalita, enveloped in the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani. But before this, Radharani herself, appearing in Gaur Leela as Gadadhar Pandit, is saying, Nimai Pundit is perfect in every way imaginable. So charming, so compelling, so sweet, so beautiful. So only has one flaw, is that he's not a devotee. Which is very a beautiful thing to say, and because he's not a devotee, it's Krishna. So it's like saying the truth in a mysterious way, saying, oh, he's not a devotee. Like that, like if you say, what is Krishna's only flaw? He's not a devotee. Krishna, he's perfect in every way. He's expanded, has innumerable avatars, but yet to experience devotion to himself, which is the most wonderful thing. And I say that because no less than Krishna himself as Mahaprabhu will certify the superiority of the position of the devotee. And that is the most extraordinary thing. Because sometimes we have a sleeping suspicion, like, oh, Krishna, he worship Krishna, become his devotee, everything, give everything to Krishna, and, you get to take the prasad. But actually, the prasad, that is the most nectarine substance that can only be relished by a devotee. And so much so, we find Mahaprabhu, after sannyas at Kirchor Gopinath, mad to taste the prasad of Gopinath. When, as Gopinath, the bhog was given to him, what's the difference? Krishna Adhara Amritam. Adhara Amritam. The nectar from the lips of Krishna is the secret ingredient of prasadam, only relished by the devotees, Radharani and her group. So, that those well wishes from the devotees, that is the substance of our lives, actually. The well wishes of the devotees. How the higher devotees see us, or our prospect, our reality potential. Right? So he had all these devotees, they're rooting for him to get religion, to get devotion. You know. So on the plea of performing his father's Shraddh ceremony, the funeral rituals, he goes to Gaya. And with some of his students, remember Nimai Pundit, he's a Sanskrit teacher, but the primary one is teaching the beginning classes to the students. And with the group, they go, and on the way, he gets a fever. And they try to cure this fever in every way imaginable, they're unable to. And he says, the only thing that will cure my fever is if I can drink water that's washed the feet of a Brahmin. I mean, it says Vipra, which means Brahmin, but I think it implied like very learned high Brahmin. Anyway, that's another point, but so it's arranged, and lo and behold, he drinks the water that's washed the feet of the Brahmin, and his fever is cured. Right? Elsewhere we're told, Namo Brahmani Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Mahaprabhu, when he's dancing before Jagannath, this is one of the first verses he sings. Enveloped by the heart of Srimati Radharani, seeing Krishna, saying, Namo Brahmani Devaya Go Brahmani Hitaya Cha, Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. And there, Srila Saraswati Thakur says, most often we hear Krishna described as Bhakta Vatsala. It means, who loves his devotees, basically. The gist of that. But here, Saraswati Thakur introduces the term Sevak Vatsala, which I think is sort of extra sweet. The Sevak, his servitors, those who are rendering service to him, how much love and affection he has for them. So they continue on, and the tradition, after arriving, you go to different places, and when you make these offerings to your ancestors. But to show that's not why he's really there, in the first instance, when it's for his recently departed father, he takes sand, and he's using sand as his offering. So that means that's nothing. It's a very visual, graphic way of saying, this is not the thing. Okay? What it's about is heart. Okay? But still, he wants to be dutiful and do everything as expected. So he's taken to all the different places where all the great devotees have done this pinda, this thing. Where Yudhisthira did, where Bhima did, where all the different places, and then he does you can imagine, we've been in these situations. The local pandas, you come forward, and Saraswati Thakur even talks in a purport about the greed of the pandas being on display. Because when he would finally take ingredients and offer them, then they would grab all the offerings and consume them in various ways. So, but he wants to have darshan of the lotus feet of Vishnu. Okay? And it's not lost upon me that this critical darshan of the lotus feet of Vishnu that he's gone there for, that Vishnu is known as Gadadhar. That seems to be an extra special aspect of these pastimes. Because Gada, Dhara, the one who's, originally means the one who's carrying the club. The Gada, Shankha, Padma, Gada, Chakra. But anyway, so and those Brahmins, they're singing the glories of the lotus feet of the Lord. Saying, these are the lotus feet that, are meditated on by Vishnu. Fortunate people come, have darshan of these lotus feet. These are the same lotus feet that are massaged by Lakshmi Devi. These are the same lotus feet that were on the head of Bali Maharaj. These are those lotus feet. Fortunate souls come and have darshan of these holy lotus feet. Of course, the person who's the source of those lotus feet is there before them. And it's also where the liquid Krishna Prem in the form of Ganga, Jamuna are emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord. And elsewhere, Vrindavan Das Thakur says that, as we see in those other pastimes, that the Ganga's coming out from the lotus feet of the Lord in the pastimes of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, the Ganga is pouring out of his eyes. That's different. Liquid Krishna is pouring out endless streams, Ganga-like streams of tears pouring from the eyes of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, feeling separation from his beloved. Swaviraha, Guru Maharaj said, separation from himself, but himself enveloped in the heart of Srimati Radharani. That's why there are Ganga-like streams of tears. So, after all this ceremony and darshan, in these holy places, he meets Ishvara Puri, right? So we know Ishvara Puri is one of the disciples of Madhavendra Puri, who rendered personal service, like hospice type service to him in his final days. Told even cleansing his urine and stool and like that. What would generally be objectionable. He is happily doing this seva, considering the exalted position of Madhavendra Puri. So it's to demonstrate the greatest amount of eagerness of service for the least aspect. Greatest amount of eagerness and earnestness for the least aspect of service. That gives a hint of the devotion of Ishvara Puri, and he plays the role of being the guru of Mahaprabhu. So when they meet each other, Mahaprabhu is saying, now my coming to a holy place has really been fulfilled. Right? And why does he say that? And it's on theme with what we're discussing today. When Yudhisthira Maharaj, early on in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, meets Vidura, who Saraswati Thakur describes as Tirtharaj. He says, Bhavad vidha bhagavatas tirtha bhuta swayambhivo tirti kurvanti tirtani svanstak tena gadavrata. He's saying, you were a holy place of pilgrimage, personified, moving. Wherever you are, that's a holy place. Right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, Yathai Vaishnavagan Seyistan Brindavan. Where the Vaishnavas are gathered, and that always means there will be glorification, Gaur Katha, Krishna Katha. Right? He's saying that place is Vrindavan. So now Nimai Pundit is saying to Ishvara Puri, now that I've seen you, now I've really visited a holy place. In fact, it's personalities like you, you're holier than these places, or by your coming here, they're made even holier. And Ishvara Puri, this is a little awkward for him, but he's saying, I know who you are, you're the Lord himself, and you're saying all these things. But it's my good fortune to just be seen by you. But Nimai Pundit is saying, in this place, when you offer some pinda to the ancestors, those whom you offered it to, they get benefit from that. He's saying, but in your case, millions of generations of people will benefit just by being bathed in your glands. Once, and we were having a little darshan with Srila Guru Maharaj, myself, this Bengali devotee, Sarva Bhavana Prabhu, just maybe like that. And he wanted to take some pictures of Guru Maharaj. This is way a long time ago, with a little camera with film in it. He's like taking some, and Guru Maharaj is trying to say, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, Maharaj, just taking some pictures." And Guru Maharaj said, "That is a waste of energy." And he said, "Well, Maharaj, if I was taking pictures of a mundane person, I can understand, that would be, but I don't consider that this is." It was like a delightful little back and forth, And I mentioned this line from this Narottam song, Ganga, Parasha, and A Baru Karuna Koro Vaishnava Goshai song, saying that repeatedly bathing in the Ganga purifies one, but if you're once bathed in the glance of a Vaishnava, we're just playing like this. Right? But when I said that, then Guru Maharaj sang every line of that song, right? About being bathed in the glance of the Vaishnava. That is our aspiration. Why did we spend so much time in Kolkata with Srila Govinda Maharaj? Navadip, it's 120 kilometers away. Didn't we just hear? That's the holy place. Right? Navadvip, all those places we just heard about. Why weren't we there? Why are we at Dum Dum Park in Calcutta most of the time? Because of who is there, the person who personifies all these holy places and in whom they are more present. In other words, our ability to go to these other places and extract from there is very little. It's not to decry them in any way. It's our lack of capacity. Whereas in the presence of the Vaishnava, being bathed in the glance of the Vaishnava, there's more opportunity for us. Krishna conception becomes more tangible, palpable in the association. As Guru Maharaj, before joining Gaudiya Math, noticed that perhaps Janmashtami or Gaur Purnima, it was Janmashtami, and he's talking to a devotee who's taking care of the deity And he said, and just testing him, and he said, so the deity, like, represents Krishna or Krishna? And what do you say? Deha, Dehi, Vivedoyam, Mesware, Vidite. It's directly, Sakshad Brajendranandana Hari. It's directly the Lord. He said, so the Lord is right here. Yeah. And he goes, but your Guru Maharaj is upstairs and all the senior servitors are with him and they're not here. Where you just said the Lord is directly present and manifest. When Guru Maharaj said, but that man was trained by Srila Saraswati Thakur and Gauriya, and he said, the Lord will be, appearing soon. The time, he said, he'll be more present in our Guru Maharaj than even here. So therefore, the senior servant, they're all with him. So this sort of beautiful back and forth between Ishvara, Puri, and Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu praising him like anything. And of course he knows it's part of his divine pastimes from Madhavendra Puri to Ishvara Puri. The Krishna Prem Ankur, the seed of Krishna Prem coming. So we're told Mahaprabhu goes to where he's staying, Nimai Pundit, and he's cooking, which in itself I think is just amazing. So he's cooking. And Ishvara Puri comes at that time, and Nimai Pundit's so happy, and he's saying, please, take what I've made. And Ishvara Puri says, why don't you just split it, in half? And Mahaprabhu, no, I want you to take this. And he said, and I'll cook again. And it's mentioned there, Rama Devi, the goddess of fortune, she very quickly cooked something from a hidden position for Nimai Pundit. And after this, Nimai Pundit is begging Ishvara Puri for mantra diksha. Right? He's saying, will you give me mantra diksha? I want to drink the nectar of Krishna Prem. And Ishvara Puri's answer is saying, give you mantra diksha. He said, I will give you my life. Whatever I am, I'm giving that to you. And Mahaprabhu was saying, the mantra diksha, as long as that's included. Because he wants to show that even he's Krishna himself, come as the greatest, still you have to have guru. The first principle, guru padasraya. You must take shelter of a guru, whoever you are. Krishna himself and Krishna Lila. Right? Gaur, Nimai Pundit, same thing. Right? And he's given the mantra, and we're told in the aftermath, and this we're coming to indirectly, but he would go, Kumarahat is where Ishvara Puri was from. So Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pundit, he went there, and seeing that place, the birthplace of his Gurudev, as worshipable. And he took some of the sand, the earth from there in his cloth, and we're told he would take a little bit of that. So he saw the birthplace of his Gurudev as worshipable. And just to conclude that, it was after that he gets the mantra diksha and he's thinking, Kahan Krishna Prananath Murli Vadan, Kahan Karun, Kahan Pan, Brajendrananda. Now he wants to run to Vrindavan. Right? As he will do later, having taken sannyas, but here he's running to Vrindavan, sends all of his students back to Navadvip. And on his way running to Vrindavan, a voice in the sky says to him, "Don't go to Vrindavan right now. You'll go later." He's like, "Oh, okay. Go back to Navadvip. Now you can begin, bhakti, to manifest your devotional pastimes, but do that in Navadvip and you can go to Vrindavan later." Which he does. And then everyone welcoming him back and seeing this transformation that's taken place from the Dasya Prem to Sakya Prem to Vatsalya Prem to Madhur Prem. It's a gradual manifestation and expression. So the birthplace of the spiritual master, of Sri Guru, being seen as worshipable. And we're told, the general way of seeing Guru, Nityananda is the general representation of Guru. Then in the Madhura Rasa aspect, Srimati Radharani. So Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, he said, we see Hapania as Barshana, taking it, the Guru Maharaj says, Radharani's delegate. And remember, he's his godbrother. You could say Guru Maharaj's disciples may subscribe to this vision, but that the godbrother and judge of our Maharaj, that they would approve of this way of seeing was something extraordinary. And because Srila Guru Maharaj took sannyas, and he was the eldest son, in the system there, when you, by Indian law, when you take sannyas, you're legally dead. Right? Which means what that means, you cannot inherit property, ownership, anything. So Guru Maharaj, as the eldest son, would inherit everything. Because he took sannyas, that was no longer the case. Everything went to his brother next. Amarendra, Amar Babu, it was called. So he would be there, and they're welcoming Guru Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj accompanying him is Achyutananda Swami, disciple of, one of the first disciples of Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj. So that's big news in this village. Whether anyone has ever seen, a white person could be asked. Right? And here, not only is it someone from the Western world, but he's in sannyas dress, and he's following the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so Amar Babu, he says, or one of Guru Maharaj's relatives, but perhaps him, says, we're from here, and we, take for granted what, our good fortune, appearing in such a divine place. He was a little, ashamed. And he's saying, and you've come from where? He said, New York City. And you're from New York City, and you have this appreciation. Like, how is that possible? And for years, Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Gurudev would tell the story. They liked it so much. It points to the Sukriti of Achyutananda, and also, being trained by Srila Guru Maharaj. So they ask him, how is this? And he says, Brahmanda Brahmite Konavagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. It's not a question of being born in the East or the West. It is, Bhagyavan Jeev, those fortunate souls, those souls who have the good fortune, will come in connection with this divine substance. It doesn't matter where they're from. Guru Maharaj liked that very much. Srila Gurudev liked that very much. Hare Krishna. So, Madhusudan Maharaj, are you there? Is he? Huh? Can they turn on his microphone? Yes,
The
Maharaj.
audio is so good that it's like I'm exactly sitting beside you, Maharaj.
Oh, okay. So I would like if you could say a few words.
Well, Maharaj, a few words, maybe just a very few, but yes, as you pointed out at the beginning, first of all, Maharaj, obeisances to your holy feet and to all of the devotees. So my obeisances, Maharaj. And a few words, as you pointed out, Maharaj, we did go there. We had the very good fortune, you can say, to go there on many indeed occasions with Srila Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj. And really, he was always very happy, content, more or less like a boy, rather than like either a sannyasi or presently as the Acharya of the mission. I mean, he really wasn't in any sort of mood that, oh, I'm a sannyasi or I'm a guru, I'm anything. He just simply was like a boy coming to the village of Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't accept also, devotees tried, I was there one time, and two devotees, they tried to make a nice kind of, not a vyasasan, but a nice chair with the cushions, etc. on it. And Gurudev didn't accept. To sit on that, there's a wooden bench there, maybe still until today, just a plain flat wooden bench. He just wanted to sit on the bench. And he would sit, and he would sit there with also Amar Babu, and sometimes Mani Babu, another of Guru Maharaj's brothers, were living in the village. And it was just kind of very homey to happen. And this day also is the day of the installation of the deities in Hapania, and we were fortunate to be there also that day. And the deities of Shri Shri Guru Gauranga, Radha Gopinath. And these deities, this is Pancham Dol, which is a day selected by Gurudev every year after Gauropanim for the devotees to come to Hapania to remember him, opportunity to glorify Guru Maharaj, to visit the place of his appearance. And on this Pancham Dol day, it was the installation day of the deities. And that day, I remember we were all going by bus, and Gurudev would arrange buses, not quite luxury bus, but functional buses, just about, to get on the quite bumpy roads in those days. And we took the Vyasasan, not the Vyasasan, the Sringasan, for the deities, we took there to Hapania, and then all the preparations, etc. So this day also, the installation day of the deities in Hapania. And we know how Gurudev, he saw everything there as divine. And there is actually a little bit of a transcript, just a short paragraph, because it's Gurudev's own words, and then just an idea of how he saw that place. He said, so, this is quoting Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj. So now you have come to this very place of Hapania that you've been describing so well, Maharaj. This holy place, Hapania, where Guru Maharaj manifested himself to the world, and where all the trees, all the animals, all of the men, women, everything is transcendental. Even all the vegetables are transcendental. But it is necessary to eat with a transcendental body. Otherwise, how can we digest? Which brings us on to not only that festival, but many very memorable festivals in Hapania of Sankirtan, of Naga Sankirtan, going around the village of Hapania and going to other villages, and more broadly going in the area with the Sankirtan of the Western and Eastern devotees chanting together, and a banner from the mat. And not this time, but at Guru Maharaj's Vyasa Puja time, we would go the day or two after his Vyasa Puja to celebrate there too. And then they would take a picture of Guru Maharaj too. So Guru Maharaj's name and fame, the name of Gauranga, etc., in that whole area would be chanted, and some very noisy, or rather Hari Katha, talks by Gurudev sometimes and by the senior sannyasis and devotees, with a lot of accompanying noise of the villagers in that sweet temple in Hapania. I remember it being quite a challenge for the devotees to be able to be heard over the sound of the locals, who were very eager for the time of savor of prasadam. And then many festivals there, Maharaj, with the local people, the devotees, in kirtan, in the artis, in glorification, and in feasting. So we can give a little description from that angle of vision. And Gurudev always saying about, whenever he would ask Guru Maharaj if he can go to Hapania, he said, I have some service in Hapania today, I wish to go, may I go? And Guru Maharaj always gave him the green light to go. And Srila Gurudev said the Guru Maharaj considered that was his, means Govinda Maharaj's temple. Because Guru Maharaj, he can't be running a temple in his own place, as it were. So Guru Maharaj said, oh, so you are going to your temple. And Guru Maharaj always said that temple is your temple, means Govinda Maharaj's temple.
Yeah.
And then from the very early days when we went there in the 80s, and presently Gurudev, that Shanti Sarova Kund, and some agricultural land for growing vegetables and for growing rice adjoining it. And Gurudev very happily walking there, and we would, each time we go, he would look and inspect the trees and the plants and see how everything was going on. He took so much care, like he said just now, even the vegetables are transcendental. So he had a very affectionate and devotional relationship with Hapania, and many times as hosts, when we went there, we would be guests rather to our hosts, who would be Amar Babu, Mani Babu, and other relatives of Guru Maharaj living just nearby where the temple was constructed. So beautiful memories, Maharaj. And one other thing, Maharaj, I'd just like to say is, anybody we talk with who's been to Hapania, it's almost like an arrow of something very sweet has struck their heart and cannot be removed. Everyone who's gone to Hapania, they've got something, maybe very subtle, whatever it is, maybe not so tangible to say that, oh, particularly this experience or that experience. But everybody coming, even once having gone to Hapania, like forever, they've got some special arrow of a wonderful, having visited a wonderful place of affection and joy and elevated spiritual place. That's come to their heart, and they will all say, oh, Hapania, so wonderful.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Maharaj. And I think, and especially if when they were there, they had the good fortune to taste the coconut water and the coconut pulp inside. Because remember, the very name Hapania means sweet water. So there's something in the water there. The sweetness in the drinking water, but also that in the coconuts from the trees, and it's the sweetest coconut water I've ever experienced, and the pulp is just extraordinary. So it seems only appropriate that Srila Guru Maharaj would appear there. And remember, in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, and again, just to underscore this point, Krishna consciousness is about worshiping the devotee of Krishna, according to Krishna. Right? That famous verse from the Adi Purana to Arjuna, those who say they're directly my devotees are not my real devotees. Those who are devotees of my devotees are my real devotees. This is from the lotus mouth of Krishna. Right? What does the Bhagavatam say in the beginning? Dharmak projita koita botra paramo nirmat saranam satam Nirmat saranam satam means you cannot be envious of the devotee of Krishna and enter into the understanding really of Krishna conception. You'll only have a hallucination, some distant, abstract misconception about it. Then what is Vyasa's own realization, having been chastised by Narada, saying, Kimba Bhagavata Dharma na prayena nirupita priya paramahansanam tadeva hyachuta priya. Oh, maybe it's because I didn't tell about Achyuta Priya, which you can really see. That means who is dear to Krishna. I told all these other things, but what about who's dear to Krishna, and what to speak of who is most dear to Krishna? And then in that same Bhagavatam, and parting instructions to Uddhava in the end, Mad Bhakta Puja Abhyadika. Krishna says, the worship of my devotee takes precedence over the worship of myself. Tasmaideyam tato grajam sa pujo cha yatayaham. Whatever you can give to me, you can give to my devotees. Same. Me and my devotees, same. But different. He's saying, and what's the difference? Mad bhakta puja abhyadika. The worship of it will give me greater happiness for you to worship my devotee than for you to worship me directly. And then if we have a problem understanding that, to make it perhaps easier to understand, think of who the supreme devotee is. And then if you say, so if Krishna is saying, if you worship Radharani, that's better than trying to come to me direct. I'll be happier. You worship her, and I'll be very happy with that. And what do you get from that? You don't get any higher quality or quantity of Krishna than in her connection. Why? Because Krishna cannot conceal himself in her presence. Right? The sweet absolute, the sweetest absolute. He only comes out, he's only fully himself. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna is only fully himself in her presence. In every other situation, he's somewhat suppressed for various consideration. But in her situation, he cannot but be fully present. As in the Rupa Goswami saying when Krishna played the trick on the Braja Gopis, hiding from them, and then they think they see him hiding in the kunja, and they run towards him, and then he pushes out two more arms and becomes four-armed Narayan. And Rupa Goswami writes, Rago Daya Kunchati. They can't conceal their disappointment. So that tells us something about them also. In the presence of Narayan, they're disappointed. So what is Gopi bhajan? Right? Mahaprabhu is about Gopi bhajan. Krishna consciousness is Gopi bhajan. How they worship. Whatever anyone else may do, they may do. What do? They're the leaders of all of this. And they have a particular way. Right? Chakravarti Thakur, Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tadama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachir Upasana Brajabadu Bargena Jakalpita. There's nothing superior to the method of worship from the Brajagopis and their supreme leader, Srimati Radharani. Right? What is it? Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam, like Gauranga would say, it's, maybe you're a big fan of the Braja Gopis, of Gopi Bhajan, so you're saying, there's nothing better than this. Well, a lot of people say things like that. There's nothing better than this, you're saying there's nothing better than this. So what is the evidence for that? Or it's just some sentiment that you're expressing. Srimad Bhagavatam, Pramanam Amalam, the purest evidence. Everything else, to in varying degrees, has some tinge, but not Srimad Bhagavatam. Koitavo, any ulterior motive for religiosity or dharma, rejected from the pages of the Bhagavatam. So he's saying, Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. This is the book that gives you all the evidence. It's the Mahapurana, the Super Purana, Veda Vyasas, what do you call it? Magnum opus, the supreme work, and there it's given. And what does it say? Prema Pumarto Mahan. That this Krishna Prem of Radharani and the Braja Gopis, it's beyond Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. It's the fifth, beyond that. It's the ultimate thing. This is what the heart is really searching for. Guru Maharaj would say, and the opening of the Mayapur temple, he said, he talked about Gopi bhajan, and he used this word cloister. He said, Gopi bhajan there's like some cloister. You know what a cloister is? Like a place where you go to like pray and worship, and right? He's saying Gopi bhajan is, the heart is the cloister. Your heart is that place, not some place, it's your heart. So, Prema Pumarto Mahan, and he said, and where did you get this information from? Who told you about all of this? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatrapi Napa, none other than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's come here to celebrate the divine love of Srimati Radharani and the Braja Gopis. And Rupa Goswami, who's one of them, and not only one of them, but the leader, our leader, the supreme leader, and Sri Chaitanyastakam says, Sureshanam Durgam Gati Ati Shayeno Upanishadam. The very rarely a glimpse by the suras, means the devas, the Upanishads only hinting at, indicating Muninam Sarva Pranata Padalin Madhurima, what the Munis, everyone is searching for. It's like in these prayers of Guru Maharaj, Deva, Siddha, Mukta, Jukta, Bhakta, Vrinda, Banditam. It's including everyone. They're all want to go in the direction of this divine substance. Then Sri Sanam Durgam Gati Ati Sayeno Panishanam Muninam Sarvasam Pranata Patalim Madhurima Vinir Yasha Premno Nikhila Palambur Ambuja Drisam. This is the part. And we're saying that the gopis, when they see Krishna under the influence of the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani, they're so happy. It's like a celebration for them. They're saying, the love that we have in our hearts, he's now celebrating that. And the position of our divine mistress, what could be better than that? Jadi gorna hoita tabiki hoita kemari dori tam dehe radhar mahima prema rasasima jagata janatoke. So Guru Maharaj so many times like to quote this line from Vasugo, saying, if Gauranga had not come down, we would have never known the greatness of Srimati Radharani and the heights, the exalted nature of her Krishna Prem. And I think Devashish Prabhu alluded to this the other day, and Guru Maharaj would represent this in various ways. So in one place he's saying, if you did not come in connection with this divine substance, then it would have been better that you committed suicide before you were born. Don't think about that too much. But it's the intensity of a particular feeling. But in another place, he'd say, Vasugo says, so if Gauranga had not come down and distributed this divine substance, saying, then how could we live? And then Guru Maharaj would say, but I see that for some time you were living not in connection with us. So he's saying like, oh, now I understand. Anticipating that you would get connection with this, you lived for some time. That I can understand. But otherwise it's impossible to live without this. So, and just to show how Gurudev could use his, again, a little bit of his humor and also his fanatical devotion to Guru Maharaj to even chastise Guru Maharaj's brother, Amar Babu, which he shouldn't do, as Maharaj is saying, like, he won't sit in an elevated position there, but sometimes something has to be said. So he told him once, ultimately, remember, everyone in Guru Maharaj's family, they all understood how great he is and they got his connection. But at the, you could say at the insistence of Srila Govinda Maharaj. But he told him, he said, you came from the same womb as Srila Guru Maharaj and you didn't know how great he was. Not from the same town. You came from the same womb as Guru Maharaj and you didn't know how great he was until the whole Western world came. And now you understand. That he told them. And coming from him, then they can go, blah, blah. They have to accept. And happily, then all of Guru Maharaj's relatives, they're dancing and joyous celebration, realize, and it's, look, Krishna, the Yadu dynasty, sometimes we're told they thought like, it said the way in the milk ocean, you know, the moon came out of the milk ocean. So there are fish there that thought, you know, he's one of us. But it was the moon. And on that note, so it's, if they thought, it's very hard to overcome the sentiment towards a relative, right? To see them. We've seen indicate like Vijay Raman Prabhu bow down on Srila Avadut Maharaj's Vyas Puja like a disciple. And maybe 15 minutes later chastising him, you know, or pulling some food out of his mouth that he thinks he shouldn't be eating. But during this moment, not father and son, he's realizing, oh, he's a charger, I'm bowing down. And so this type of play there between Srila Guru Maharaj, his relatives, when he was young, he was put under the care of one of his aunties for some time. And she noticed some, like, that he had an attitude, an unfavorable attitude towards women, right? And she said, why is that? You know, like, young man, why is that? And Guru Maharaj said, no, I've read some things in the scriptures. He's always regulated by Shastric revelation. And she said, well, have you read this? And these ladies could also quote Sanskrit. And she quoted this verse where it says, women should be seen as representatives of Lakshmi Devi. And Guru Maharaj said, then I had to readjust my thinking. So she corrected him. And the only way you could correct Guru Maharaj was like by quoting scripture. Then you're like, oh, all right, then I'll think in a new way. Hare Krishna. But it was our good fortune to be sent there by Srila Guru Maharaj, and Srila Madhusudan Maharaj is saying to accompany Srila Gurudev there, and his mood, childlike mood, that not in any official capacity is coming, but as this, as the child, you know, and that vision he's expressing, that every aspect of Hapania is worshipful to him. And we see that's the mood of Nimai Pundit when he went to visit the birthplace of Ishvara Puri and Srila Gurudev. He had that sort of heart and feeling towards the birthplace of Srila Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Madhusudan Maharaj, some concluding words?
Maharaj, maybe some concluding kind of just feelings and memories from Hapania.
Yes.
Because really, some of the sweetest nights I've ever had have been when we've stayed overnight in Hapania for Seva, and then being in the evening program, being in very simple accommodation, just lying on the floor. I don't remember staying in a bed in Hapania. We're just in the floor in that room upstairs at the very small Nath Mandir, but opposite the deities, which has a deer in the vent. It has this shape of a deer cast into it, and the bell right outside. But Hapania is such a sweet place to have an evening program, just so sweet and intimate, and spending the night early in the morning, bathing from the hand pump and the water that's just stored in the corner, and then the morning program. And very happy memories there, Maharaj, when we've gone, for instance, this festival, sometimes we go the day before to put up the decorations, and then stay into the evening, stay overnight, and then greet the devotees when they come. So just as a experience or a heart, one of those arrows that strikes our heart when we go to Hapania, these things do stay with us very happily. And everybody who's been there and stayed the night also, then we must feel that they must remember those days for the rest of their lives.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. And we remember the servitors. We cannot separate Hapania from the servitors, and inseparably we do think of Subhasaka Prabhu, who became Damodar, Sripat Damodar Maharaj.
Wasn't Krishna Nanda there for a while?
He was there for a while also, Maharaj. Yes, various devotees have been, because he posted there, been doing service there, and a sweet service.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes.
At this point.
Yes. Jai. Sri Hapaniya Dham ki jai. So Bhakti Sudhir Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So Bhakti Sudhir Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Go Premanande.
Hari Bo.
Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Radha Srivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Dasa Raghunath. Jai Go Jai Gauri Charana Vandan. Jaha Hoite Vignas Abhishta Puran. Jai Go Jai Jar Mui Taro Das. Kansavada Padarenu Mora Panchagras. Vaishnava Padma Koriyan Puri Nam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamada Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaur Hari Bo Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaur Hari Bo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Asatera Sadashri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Gopinath Ki Jai Sri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Hapaniya Dham Ki Jai Sri Navadip Dham Ki Jai Sri Gupta Govardhan Ki Jai Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhakti Bimala Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi Ki Jai Seva Vrinda Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Go Premanande Hare Krishna
Ki Jai.
Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai.
And Maharaj Dandavat.
Yeah.
From Kalindi Priya, Italy, Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Russia, Prema Rupa Didi, Dhanjaya Prabhu, Russia, Madhava Priya Didi, Colombia, Divya Shakti Didi, USA, Bhakta Bandhu Prabhu, Philippines, Anjali Didi, Sharmila Devidasi, United Kingdom, Atula Krishna Prabhu and Madhavi Didi, Hungary, Ophir Yavitz, Israel, Krishna Shran Prabhu, Raseshwari Didi, Brazil, Kalyani Didi from New York, Kumkum Devi Dasi. All glories to Srila Bhakti Rakshakshidhar Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj, and all the Vaishnavas. Shyamala Devi Dasi, Dandavat to Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Rajan Masud Maharaj, and Dandavat to all the devotees. And Shakira Chetty, South Africa, and Tarulata from Minsk, Belarus.
Oh, Dhanyavad, Dhanyavad.
What?
So worldwide devotees, and here Indumukhi Dhanyavad, Hare Krishna in China. And this is Bhakti Sevan Rishikesh Maharaj, right? And Abhazi Dhanyavad Maharaj and all your associates there. Kalindi Priya Milan, she's at Vila Govinda, right? Dhananjaya and Chaitanya Mohi and Rome, Dhanyavad. Bhakta Bandhu Prabhu Dhanyavad, Rupa Vilas Prabhu Dhanyavad, Nimai Priya Dandavat. In Lalita Priya, Dandavat. Chaitanya Nitai Prabhu, he's in Vrindavan, Dandavat. Vrindavan Chandra, Dandavat. There's Rishikesh Maharaj again. He has that Asta Siddhi. He can appear in 8 different Zoom meetings at once. Anindita in Sochi, Dandavat. Brajalatika, Dandavat. You wrote a very beautiful letter to me. I'll send you something. Praneshri Devi, Dandavat. Suchitra, Dandavat. Sri Hari Prabhu in Brazil, Dandavat. Kamala Sundari, Dandavat. Nadia, Dandavat. Where is this? Anjali, Dandavat. Leela Sundar Prabhu in Govindaland, Dandavat. Paramananda Prabhu in the Govinda farm, Dandavat. Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. And to our Galaxy Core Prime devotees, Hare Krishna. Lilavadi, more. Jamuna, Dandavat. Shamala, Dandavat. Shanti Mohi, Dandavat. Gaurachandra Prabhu, Dandavat. Sharmila Devi, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Darjalila, Dandavat. Madan Gopal, Dandavat. Nityananda Das, Dandavat. Damodar Das, Dandavat. Harimati, Dandavat Diri. Krishna Chaitanya Das in Ukraine, Dandavat. Ekadashi, Subhada Balavanta, and in Tomsk, Dandavat. They're the caretakers of Shamali. Anjali, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Who else? Anyone? All right. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.